Um, well, thanks for inviting us to this event, and I'm very happy to be here with Jacqueline Kidd. The two of us are working on the infrastructure, and Jackie the marine infrastructure file. And I think today we're here to share with you some background on the work that we're doing and give you a bit of insight into our priorities for that work. But just before I start, Jessica, can you tell me how much time I have?
So just about 10 minutes.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Turning on my timer here. So I think so. Maybe best to start briefly with just a quick note on ITK and who I'm here speaking on behalf of. ITK is the National Inuit Association. We represent 65,000 Inuit at the national level. And you can see on the agenda that my colleagues are here from Inuit land claim organizations across Inuit Nunangat. They represent their respective Inuit regions. And of course, each region has its own priorities and needs, and also their own authorities under Inuit land claims agreements. We are, however, united in our efforts to advance safe and reliable shipping in Inuit Nunangat. This is a priority for Inuit Nunangat. Most communities lack the most basic marine infrastructure. I think we all understand this. The presentations leading up to this one have touched on that, and I think some of the comments from my colleagues in Inuit Nunangat reflect that. So I think the focus of my presentation today, I think what I'm hoping will deliver the most value for you would be to discuss some of the ways that we're working to develop new models and incentivize investment through Inuit self-determination within Inuit Nunangat. And this touches on marine infrastructure, and it touches on our emerging approach to other asset classes as well, be it broadband, energy, social and health infrastructure. These are all obviously areas where there are deficits. We know that infrastructure has emerged as a priority area for work with our federal partners over the last few years. As federal priorities have shifted towards greater appetite for infrastructure planning and investment across the country, the federal government has shown a willingness to recognize Inuit calls for greater investment and self-determination within Inuit Nunangat. And this is a real change from the past, whereas sort of leading up to this point and historically, it was the federal government that had been responsible for investing when and where it did on a sort of project by project basis with input and sort of bilateral relations with provinces and territories. Within the last short while, there have been sort of emerging opportunities for greater participation, Inuit participation in and control over project development and investment. So I want to tell you a little bit about that, and then give you a sense of how we're moving forward together to position ourselves to close this gap and at the same time advance our goal for Inuit self-determination in Inuit Nunangat. So I don't know if people noticed the recent federal announcement in Budget 2021 for a $4.3 billion Inuit Indigenous Community Investment Fund. This was announced as a distinctions-based fund, and its purpose is to support Indigenous communities and governments in their work to close the infrastructure gap and address infrastructure priorities. In terms of where Inuit fit into this distinctions-based amount, it's not clear. but this fund complements other sort of other funding arrangements and opportunities that have also come up recently through the Canada Infrastructure Bank, as well as other sort of federal opportunities. So, you know, and this work builds these funds build on much of the work that we've done through the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee over the last 18 months to position ourselves as Inuit in the sort of infrastructure development policy field. We've done some work that I'm going to explain in a couple of minutes, but I think a couple of points about this funding announcement. What's important about this, I think, from our standpoint, is that it's a signal, and it's a signal that Inuit are now in a position to be active owners, investors, and you know, players in infrastructure development in Inuit Nunangat. Those funds will be available for Inuit regions to invest, and you know, I think there's some thinking around how those investments can be leveraged to attract private capital and be sure that the approach that's being taken to those investments is strategic. Obviously, these investments are not going to be these announcements that I just mentioned. They're not a panacea. We're looking for, you know, much more significant investments over time. The infrastructure gap across Inuit Nunangat is far more than valued far more than the amount that Inuit are likely to receive under these announcements. But you know, it's a start, and it is a signal that we're looking to take advantage of. So obviously, we need to work in partnership with governments to leverage those investments and to find ways to attract other partners, private capital, to invest in the region and to support the kind of work that Inuit determine as are their priorities for infrastructure development. While as we're working towards this, you know, this new approach, it's also, I think, important to mention that we are at the same time working together to build a vision and an evidence base for the kind of need and priorities and strategy that needs to be in place in order to advance our goals for infrastructure development. We started back in March 2020 at the national level with developing a report. We worked with Deloitte. Some people call it the Deloitte report. What it is an initial statement of priorities, self-determined by Inuit regions, identifying 22 sort of priority projects that we are hoping to fund on a priority basis and move ahead with. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a broad understanding that we're looking to develop a more comprehensive understanding of infrastructure needs based on, you know, the gaps that people know are in play, are you know, the gaps that people know exist, and you know, thinking about ways to translate those needs into a strategy that we can all work together on. But this needs assessment work is now underway. We're working together at the national level with our regional colleagues to develop the needs assessments across asset classes, and that includes marine infrastructure. You know, we're looking at a significant data collection exercise over the next you know, 3 or 4 months in order to develop a sort of a picture or an inventory of asset classes on a community by community basis, 51 communities across Inuit Nunangat. And then from there, we'll be working to come up with an assessment of need and a report on the projects that we think would be needed in order to fill that gap. It's early days. We know we'll be looking for greater collaboration and coordination with government and the private sector in coming years. I think that's the the outcome of some of these signals that that are coming from both the federal government as well as Inuit organizations across the region. But of course, each region has its own needs and its own considerations and its own priorities. So I'm very happy here to be here to talk about the sort of the national picture and where we're headed on a 35,000 foot view. But I'm very happy that my regional colleagues are here to speak to the issues that they see, and I'm looking forward to listening to that too. So I'm not sure who's on the call today. I really hope that it would be really helpful to have a participant list at some point so that I know who I'm speaking with. And if people are interested in following up, I'm available anytime, and so is Jackie to answer questions and discuss this more.